As you all may know, I'm a fan of Star Wars. What you might not know, though, is that I am also a Disney movie fan. One of my all-time favorite Disney movies is called WALL-E. In the movie WALL-E, the Earth is abandoned by humanity after it becomes too polluted for humans to live on. It's only after the title character, a robot named WALL-E, shows the humans that it is possible for the environment to improve, that they return to Earth. While WALL-E is a fun-filled Disney movie, it examines the issue of the stewardship of the environment by showing the characters that there is hope. Over the last 2 months, I have been approaching the environment through my preaching and the dialogue that was hosted here. The first 2 sermons in this series were focused on the environment and entering into dialogue with one another about climate change. In the time since the dialogue, I have pondered our discussion and how we can use what we talked about to move forward. I personally believe that taking care of the environment is a God-given calling on all our lives. I have found our psalm, which typically is used to bring comfort at a funeral, giving us an example of what the world could be like. At the beginning of the psalm, we hear a description of a place that sounds like paradise. We hear about green pastures that we rest in and still waters that we're led by. This image invokes a sense of peace and relaxation. This tranquil place is a safe haven where those who follow the shepherd can be at rest and peace. The poetic imagery in the psalm may not be describing a literal place on earth, but it probably recalls images of places that we've seen or that we've been to. One place that comes to mind when I hear this poetic imagery is New Zealand. I personally have never been to New Zealand, but I've seen many pictures, such as the one on the screen. A place like this inspires a sense of peace, but there's something deeper. In this scene, there's more than peace. There's life. The psalmist paints a scene where sheep can not only survive, but they can thrive. For sheep, this image of lots of grass and calm waters would be a picture of heaven. This image of the pasture can also be a representation of what a healthy earth could be like. A healthy earth would be a place where we as humans would not only survive, but we could thrive. I believe a healthy earth would have a healthy climate with less erratic weather. If the image that the psalmist gives us is taken as an image of what our world would look like when it's healthy, then we live in a world of tension. On the one hand, we can see the psalmist's paradise as the world that was, and a vision of what our world could one day be. But our world could be a place where we not only have thrived, but can thrive once again. On the other hand, we could write off the psalmist's imagery and be content with the world that we live in. Living in the tension of what was and what is can seem a bit daunting, but the psalmist provides us with some words of comfort as we navigate the tension. The psalmist writes, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." If the image the psalmist gives us is the ideal of environmental health, then we're headed down the path of a dark valley. The dark valley can be an image for two distinct, yet interconnected subjects: the earth's condition and our care of it. If the dark valley is viewed as our track record of earth stewardship, we've had better days. As a society, we produce about 90% of the greenhouse gas emissions. We've not been the greatest of stewards of our earth, and one example of our failure is a trash mountain, like the picture on the screen before you. As we continue to throw things out, and these mountains continue to be formed, they release damaging chemicals into the environment or end up in water sources. I mentioned earlier that there is comfort to be found in the psalmist's words, and it is that God is with us. The psalmist starts out talking about God being with us in the places of peace and life. But God does not abandon us in times when we walk through the dark valleys of life. The dark valleys that the psalmist is referring to can take on different forms. Grief and health issues are two realms that are dark valleys in people's lives. When we're in the dark valleys, we experience God in a new way. Whether it is a dark valley in life or in the health of the environment, God brings hope into the situation. As God walks with us through the dark valleys of climate change, He reminds us of the world that is one day to come. The writer of Revelation reports on a world that has yet to come. The world of Revelation is a world that is renewed and brought back to the state that it was originally intended to be. The world as it is intended to be would probably be like the world that is described in Psalm 23. The world intended would be a place where we would not only survive, but we would thrive in life. This world would be a paradise for us. And even better still, God will be there with us. This idealized world would be a place where we would live in peace. If there's going to be a world renewed when God returns, then why should we work to better our earth now? We take care of our world because it is the world we are a part of. We live in the world as it is now, and we should strive to make this world the best it can be, not only for ourselves, but also for future generations. We do not know when the Lord will return and renew the world, and that means we have the responsibility to take care of the earth we have for everyone. As people, we share the responsibility of taking care of our planet, as we've been called to do since the very beginning. Our climate has been impacted by our actions for generations, and while we cannot change what has already been done, we can change how we add to the situation now. One of the ways that was suggested we move forward at the dialogue was to continue to have these conversations and look beyond just climate change. We can look at where the changing climate, affects other areas of our life. We can put out more visible recycling containers and be more conscious of how we dispose of our waste materials. By working to improve the environment and change the climate for the better, we can live in the hope of the world renewed. We can move forward from the dark valley of unhealthy climate change, knowing God is with us. We can follow our good shepherd into the green pastures and by still waters. We can move into a place where we not only survive, but thrive. Amen.